Imagine you're cruising at 35,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean when suddenly, the plane starts shaking violently. The cockpit fills with alarms. Pilots desperately try to regain control, and within seconds, the aircraft begins plummeting toward the ocean. But this isn't a movie. This is real. This is the terrifying story of Air France Flight 447, a flight that vanished without a trace in the dead of night. So, what really happened? And how did a combination of weather, technical failure, and human error turn a routine flight into one of the worst aviation disasters in history? Today, we uncover the chilling truth behind Flight 447, a disaster that changed aviation forever. It was June 1, 2009. Air France Flight 447 took off from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, bound for Paris, France. On board were 228 passengers and crew, unaware that they were flying toward disaster. The Airbus A330-200 was a highly advanced aircraft, built to withstand turbulence. The flight was routine, the pilots experienced, and the weather, while rough, was nothing they hadn't seen before. But as the aircraft entered a towering thunderstorm over the Atlantic, what happened next would become one of the most chilling tragedies in aviation history. At 35,000 feet, the plane encountered severe turbulence. The autopilot worked to keep the aircraft steady, but then, disaster struck. Tiny ice crystals blocked the pitot tubes, the sensors responsible for measuring the plane's airspeed. The system malfunctioned, causing the autopilot to suddenly disengage. In the cockpit, alarms blared, and the pilots were bombarded with conflicting warnings. The aircraft was in serious trouble, but the real danger had just begun. The aircraft began to stall, but instead of lowering the nose to regain speed, the pilots pulled up. This was a fatal mistake. Instead of recovering, the aircraft climbed even higher, until it lost all aerodynamic lift. Within seconds, Flight 447 entered a full stall and began its final, terrifying descent. A free fall of 10,000 feet per minute. For the passengers, the nightmare was unimaginable. Some screamed, others prayed, and many sat in silence, helplessly awaiting their fate. The plane was no longer flying, it was falling from the sky. At 2:14 a.m., Flight 447 vanished from radar, swallowed by the vast Atlantic Ocean. The shocking discovery. What followed was one of the largest and most difficult search operations in history. For 2 years, search teams scoured the ocean floor, desperately looking for any sign of the wreckage. Finally, at a depth of 12,800 feet, the remains of Flight 447 were found. When investigators retrieved the black boxes, the truth was horrifying. Technical failures alone hadn't doomed the flight. The pilots failed to recognize the stall, and instead of correcting it, they made it worse, sealing the fate of 228 innocent lives. This tragedy led to sweeping changes in aviation training. Pilots now receive better training to handle high-altitude stalls, and aircraft systems have been redesigned to prevent similar disasters. The lessons learned from Flight 447 have saved countless lives, but the heartbreak of that night will never be forgotten. If you found this story shocking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible aviation stories. Because every tragedy leaves behind lessons, and those lessons help make air travel safer for us all.